da 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 da. The Topsy Turvy Kingdom, written by Dottie and Josh Mcdowell, illustrated by Lydia Taranovic. Up is a word that I say when I look at a bird in a tree or the sky. Down is a place where I go when I fall from my bike or I slip on a pie. Hot is the water that Mom runs in my bath, but cold is each splash on the floor. These are all things that I know to be true, like I know 2 and 2 equals 4. But what if the truth that you held in your heart would suddenly vanish away? What if up became down, and cold became hot, and night was no different than day? Now there once was a place, and a long time ago, where such a disaster occurred. And as you might guess, when nothing is true, everything else is absurd. People would walk on their hands to the park and bounce on their heads to the store. Firemen only came out in the rain, and rich people begged from the poor. It would have been fine if that's where it stopped. No cause would there be for alert. But when lies became truth and right became wrong, someone was bound to get hurt. This is the tale of Herbie the prince and his father, the king of the land. Together they ruled over many a town, and the woods, and the sea, and the sand. The father was wise, and was loved by most all. His kingdom abounded in joy, for he had made laws to protect everyone, every cat, every girl, every boy. The laws were quite simple, and everyone learned to be honest and loving and kind. Silly and fun had their place in the day, but sensible things had their time. Herbie enjoyed being prince of the land. Who could ask for anything more? Till the terrible day when the great trumpet sounded and called Herbie's father to war. Of course, for a while, on everyone's heart were thoughts and prayers for the king. But as days turned to weeks, and weeks became years, there happened a dangerous thing. It seems that our king has been gone a long time, somebody worried aloud. You don't suppose he was hurt in the war? Now a hush fell over the crowd. Perhaps Herbie's dad will never return, a woman whispered in fear. I don't remember there being a king, yelled a foolish young man in the rear. Yippee, we're free, said a silly old man. Now we can do as we please. So he pulled out some pepper and sprinkled the crowd, and everyone started to sneeze. Gesundheit, said Herbie, arriving from class. Why are the kids out of school? The crowd chanted loudly, We haven't a king, so now we can make our own rules. Herbie was shocked, and was sad, and was hurt. That's how his father would feel. He pinched his own cheek, and he tried to wake up, but it wasn't a dream. It was real. I say it's best to walk on your hands, said a man with a very large purse. "And I say it's best that stop could mean go," said a man with a tow-cart and nurse. And someone said, "Truth is always the best, unless telling lies turns out better." And some said that stealing from others is wrong, except if you fancy their sweater. Like warm peanut butter, this rottenness spread, till everyone took to the way of doing whatever they liked when they wanted, no matter what others might say. Then, just when it seemed that all had been lost, and the whole world had gone topsy-turvy, there sounded a blast from the tower above, and there with the horn was Prince Herbie. "My father made laws to protect everyone, every cat, every girl, every boy. And while we obeyed him and lived by his rules, our kingdom abounded in joy. But look at us now, the place is a wreck. Oh, why should there be so much pain? I beg you, return to the ways of the king, for living like this is insane." Then somebody hollered, "Hey, what's the idea? Telling us what we should do? Your father, the king, is nowhere in sight, and nobody wants to see you." "Get him," they shrieked. "No son of a king shall tell us what's wrong or what's right." So they charged up the tower with every intent of launching the prince into flight. Herbie slid down and leaped over a pig, crawled under a Holstein or three, then raced through the church and made a quick splash with the ladies' group having their tea. The hand walkers quickly began to give chase, and the stoppers went go all the way. Those who liked stealing then brought up the rear, and the liars weren't there. So they say. They caught up with Herbie, or Herb as he's known, when he ran through a sign that meant stop, and he was arrested and taken to jail by a fellow who wasn't a cop. "Guilty as charged," said the kangaroo judge. "Your father, the king, is no more. Mention him ever again and you'll find you'll be leaving this place with a roar." People leaned forward to gaze at the boy. Would he dare to speak of his dad? Herbie felt dizzy and ready to faint. Oh, he was too scared to be sad. Finally, Prince Herbie opened his mouth and whispered so quiet and clear that everyone heard every word that he said, as though it were yelled in their ear. "My father made laws to protect everyone, every cat, every girl, every boy. And while we obeyed him and lived by his rules, our kingdom abounded in joy. The laws were quite simple, and everyone learned to be honest and do what is right, even at moments like this one right now, when doing so fills you with fright." "Enough!" cried the judge. "That's the end of the lad. Now fling him clear off the planet." So all of the flingers cranked back the great arm. It took 42 just to man it. Then right when Herbie was set to be flung, there happened a very strange thing. A powerful blast on the trumpet rang out, and the flingers were stopped in mid-fling. The people looked up to the tower and saw there clearly was nobody in it, So they turned back to Herb to blast him away. But a mighty voice roared, "Just a minute! I thought I made laws to protect everyone, every cat, every girl, every boy. But I see you've forgotten to follow my ways, and my kingdom has lost all its joy." The king had returned, and he scooped Herbie up in a tender and powerful hug, while all of the others tried sneaking back home to hide themselves under a rug. Then little by little they came out again, to ask for forgiveness at least, and the king was forgiving and gathered the folks for a special community feast. "This is my son, who stood up for the truth," said the king of our hero, Prince Herbie. "For he knew in my law there was power and love to spare us from Topsy Turvy. So now once a year, to help us recall what happens when we go astray, Herbie, my son, will climb up to the tower and call us all back the right way." So still to this day, in that faraway place, the trumpet is played by Prince Herbie, and I think that his people will never again let their kingdom become topsy-turvy. The Topsy Turvy Kingdom, written by Dottie and Josh Mcdowell, with David Nathan Weiss, illustrated by Lydia Taranovic. Bum 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 bum